Thank you very much, and good evening. I feel like I'm very high above you all here. This is my first time in Portland, actually my first time in Oregon, so am I pronouncing that correctly? I was warned not to mispronounce it. So it's really a double pleasure for me, and I'd like to thank those who made this event possible, and I know it takes a lot of effort to organize events like this, so it means a lot to me. This is day 6, I think, of a 10-day tour I'm on that has taken me already to San Francisco, to Calgary, to Edmonton, to Vancouver, to Victoria, and I'll be continuing to Eugene earlier today. So this is my second time speaking today, and I'll be going on to Spokane and Olympia and Seattle. And what has struck me is that in all these places there's enormous renewed interest in this issue, and I tend to notice these things because I speak a lot, that the crowds are getting bigger again, that the opposition is getting a little bit stronger and more prominent. And I think this tells of the moment that we're in. Back in November 2008, when just after President Obama had been elected, there was a great deal of euphoria among people who care about the situation in Palestine, who thought that his election heralded the possibility of great change in the situation in Palestine in particular, but in U.S. foreign policy more generally. And at the time, though, I wasn't one of those who shared that sense of euphoria and optimism, even in a muted way. And what I wrote at the time was that President-elect Barack Obama's election victory has revived hopes that stalled Palestinian-Israeli peace negotiations could finally lead to a two-state solution. Few new presidents have been greeted with such optimism and associated high expectations. However, the chances for progress depend on more than a new American president. There are several interrelated factors: U.S. engagement, the availability of a viable peace agreement, Israeli and Palestinian internal politics, and the broader international situation. An examination of these factors indicates that the optimism is unjustified and that President Obama will not be more successful in bringing about a two-state solution to the conflict. This does not, however, mean that the situation will remain static or that those pursuing a just peace have no recourse for action. And in this particular article, I went on to explain a couple of things that I'll only summarize, but which I think are relevant for this evening's discussion. One is that when we talk about U.S. engagement, on the whole, people mean, has the United States appointed an envoy? And is that envoy toing and froing between various capitals? And is whoever happens to be Secretary of State making statements about how seriously the U.S. takes this issue? But what I argued is that we really have to look at the full range of U.S. engagement that is usually not talked about. Aaron David Miller, a former top State Department official, succinctly summed up the American role in Arab-Israeli diplomacy over the past 30-odd years in a Washington Post op-ed in 2005. As Israel's attorney, catering and coordinating with the Israelis at the expense of successful peace negotiations. And I'd argue that the United States is still acting as Israel's attorney. Now increasingly a criminal defense attorney in the face of mounting evidence of war crimes and crimes against humanity. The Bush administration really took American engagement to new levels. There were, of course, things like the long-forgotten Annapolis Conference, when 67 odd countries were invited to Annapolis, Maryland, in, I think, 2007. I can't remember exactly. So 67 governments were invited, except for the one that Palestinians had, at that point, recently elected in the occupied territories. But what was more important, I think, was the Bush administration's direct intervention in Palestinian internal politics. First, the Bush administration pushed for elections in the occupied territories, and then when Hamas won them, attempted to overthrow the result by sponsoring a coup. And this was really well documented in a number of places, but one article in particular that I would refer to you, by David Rose in the April 2008 issue of Vanity Fair, called The Gaza Bombshell, which really laid out this sort of Contra-like intervention to try to overthrow Hamas. The administration helped arm and train Palestinian militias, again similar to the Contras, whose goal was to overthrow Hamas. It vetoed the Palestinian National Unity Government. And crucially, it supported the blockade of Gaza that began as soon as Hamas was elected, and was tightened in June 2007 when Hamas countered the American-sponsored coup, and which has been maintained since the Israeli bombing of Gaza just over a year ago.
You've been listening to the first 8 minutes of a program featuring activist and author Ali Abunimah, talking about the prospects for a just resolution to the conflict in Palestine-Israel, the debate over a one-state or two-state solution, and the Boycott-Divestment-Sanctions campaign to bring an end to the illegal Israeli occupation in the West Bank and the blockade of Gaza. This program is available in full at the Vimeo Home for Videos at vimeo.com. Search on the keywords Abunimah and PDX Justice. You can also link to the program from the PDX Justice website at pdxjustice.org. This program was produced by PDX Justice Media Productions of Portland, Oregon. To find out more about our work and to access our growing library of free on-demand streaming video and audio programs, please visit our website at pdxjustice.org and write to us with your questions and comments at pdxjustice@riseup.net. We'd love to hear from you. Many of our programs are available on DVD. Please write to us for ordering information. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for supporting listener-sponsored radio, public access cable television, net neutrality, independent bookstores, and all forms of grassroots, democratic community media.